Watch out for cash money, cause we landing down. Money making is my thing, cause I'm trying to be rich, trying to put away meals. That's why I'm in the studio dropping hits, dropping rap after rap like you sell key after key. Backed up by the best fresh, dropping beat after beat. My clique is the hot boys, best believe we so high and dangerous. If we in beef with the whole block, no fading us at all, player, cause we roll too deep. With AKs off safety, knocking busters off their feet. I go by the name of BG. I ride on chrome and the 98 Lexi S3. I'll bust a dome for baby on this B3. Because I know one thing, he'll do the same for me. We family, cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy, look here, it ain't gravy. Don't try to knock me, player, cause I'll leave your head stale. Light you up real good, you will never get well. Cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy. Cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy. I got a path that you don't want.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on? Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody listening at home, at work, wherever you are, wherever you may be. Really do appreciate it. And also, I want to give a special shout out to everybody that came over to Roundtable Sports NFC South Roundtable, kicking it over there with us. I really do appreciate it. Had some really good support over there, man, and it means a lot to me. So thank you all so much for those that checked it out. And if you didn't, I mean, you missed the treat, man. You missed the treat, man. That was entertaining. That was fun. That was all the above, man. But you can check it out. All you have to do is go to youtube.com, search Roundtable Sports NFC South. All right, Roundtable Sports NFC South. But let's go ahead and get into it. You see the topics on the screen, man. We're going to be talking a little bit about some key players returning back to practice, the development of Alontae Taylor. We're going to be talking about Saints receiver being injured with safety. We'll start week 1. And also we're going to be talking about Cam Jordan moving over to the defensive tackle position. But I want to give a special shout out to everybody in here. Shouts out to Charlie. I see Pammy in here. I see Keen Arthur. I see Mr. Barnes, Charlie Dog, Michael, Jason. Shouts out to you too, Jason. Thank you for coming over to Bleacher Report as well, man. I saw you in the live stream post game show for the Saints versus the Arizona Cardinals. Excuse me, 1 second. Just trying to make sure that I'm streaming across all platforms here. But thank you all so much for being here. Those that are at home that are not in the chat, I really do appreciate you as well. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's talk a little bit about some of the key players return to practice today. Not all of them was out there, taking part in the practice, but they were off to the side. You got Paulson Adebo, and Pete Warner. Pete Warner was off to the side, as well as Kendre Miller, Kendre Miller sighting. First time we've heard his name since he messed his hamstring up the first practice of training camp. You also had some guys that set out, like Alvin Kamara had some back tightness. That's understandable. You don't want to push him out there. It's something that DA said that he dealt with kind of consistently there. And, we got some unfortunate news when it comes to the receiver position, which we'll get to a little bit later. But, it's good to have those guys back at practice. It's good to be able to get this team back. I think a lot of the guys sitting out was the team erring on the side of caution. Don't want to rush these guys back into the fold. You feel me? I understand how they may feel about it, especially since we know that these guys have been dealing with injuries over the last couple of years. I'm talking the Saints organization, having the right guys out there at the same time. Right. So they're trying to protect them. But, you want to make sure that you're also getting those reps for those individuals that can. You don't want to just put these guys in bubble wrap and then around week one, they go out there and then mess around and get injured because they're not used to that speed just yet. You got to kind of get acclimated to it. I'm sure the New Orleans Saints are doing that, but it's good to see some of these guys coming back to practice. I know Rashid Shaheed, he returned. That's going to be a really good look. Him and Chris Olave together as a unit. Paulson Adebo, we definitely want to see him take that extra step. He took a huge step forward in 2023. Definitely going to be a key part to the Saints secondary going into the future. You got other guys out there as well that came back. I mentioned Pete Warner. Pete Warner, you definitely want to have him back. He just signed that extension. Expect big things out of Pete Warner, number 20, coming up in 2024. Kendre Miller, man, the more I look at this team and the more I look at the running back position, I think he's pretty cool. I think he's straight. Like, I know he hasn't practiced. I know, DA comes to the podium and says, you got to stay healthy and you got to be out there. But, man, I looked at this team. I looked at this game at the running back position. And honestly, I don't see anybody that can actually threaten Kendre Miller. Like, I like what I've seen out of James Robinson. Jordan Mims, like, I don't understand the hype as of right now. Maybe it was just a rough game, but I don't really see the hype. I mean, it's one thing at practice, but I actually seen him in a game. There's nothing about him that just kind of popped off the screen. James Robinson actually popped off the screen more so than Jordan Mims. And, he was supposed to get that signing bonus and all that kind of stuff when the Saints signed him. So haven't seen much out of him, but I know what Kendre Miller is. If Kendre Miller is healthy, like, Kendre Miller can be your starting running back for the foreseeable future. I don't see that in any other running back that the New Orleans Saints have outside of Alvin Kamara. Right? Alvin Kamara, that's the top-notch running back right there. Jamal Williams, to me, I'm wondering, is not him, but I'm just wondering, how does he fit in this Saints offense with this offensive line not being where it needs to be? I'm just a little bit concerned about that. But I want to see Kendre Miller come back. Hopefully, him being out there is a sign that it is a possibility that he might play in the second game of preseason, or maybe we see him against the Titans in the home game, last game of preseason. But want to see him out there. I think it would be a shame, and it would be a ridiculous move if this guy ends up getting cut from the team. I think that would be a huge mistake. I think that, he can be something special with the New Orleans Saints. I understand that you want him to be out there, and maybe, the fact that DA was upset at the fact that, and took a shot at him when he got hurt. I don't know. Maybe it was something more than that. Maybe they felt like it was something that could have been avoided. Maybe they felt like, I don't know, maybe he wasn't in shape. I don't know, man. But it seems to me like, why would you call a guy out like that, for having a hamstring injury? I'm just wondering, like, was there something more into that? But all in all, I think that they definitely need Kendre out there, and it's good that he actually was seen at practice. And also Marshawn Lattimore, showed up. So Marshawn, we know what he is to the New Orleans Saints. I know some Saints fans are talking about his health and all that kind of stuff, and it's amazing to me how people just turn their backs on an individual when they're not available, and they just tend to forget all the good things that person has done throughout the years, and that player just had a little bit of bad luck. But it's good to have those guys returning back to practice. Hopefully we can actually see these guys in some live reps, just kind of get lathered up a little bit and get back on the field, get back into game shape. Then we move on, talk a little bit about Alontae Taylor, man. Alontae Taylor has been lighting it up, really been very boisterous this season. We've seen the footage of him and Chris Olave taking reps and going back and forth. It really seems like Alontae Taylor is coming into his own. And I think Dennis Allen, he definitely understands that too. And this is the most recent press conference for Dennis Allen. And the media asked him about Alontae Taylor. And this is what DA said about Alontae's development.
Yeah, I've been really pleased with what I've seen out of Alontae. I think his mindset's been outstanding. I think his work ethic has been outstanding. I think his understanding of the position has much improved. So I'm excited about what I think he can do, both outside corner and at the nickel position. And so I think we're fortunate in that we have, I feel like some depth at that position and an important position, in particular for us in the style of defense that we play.
Yeah, I mean, Alontae Taylor has really come a long way. It was a little bit of a struggle, him, moving into the slot as that corner last season. He even talked about it. He said that, you just need to be patient with him. He wanted the Who Dat Nation to be patient. Some people might have looked at that like, I don't know, man, like dude making an excuse. But you're asking a guy to move into the inside where he was known for playing the outside his entire career. And shouts out to my guy, Derek Augustine. I was able to interview him a little bit earlier today. If you're actually watching this on a Tuesday, that video will be up really soon. But he talked a little bit about Alontae Taylor. Him and Alontae are friends, and he talked about that could be a little bit of a transition. I mean, when you are outside corner, you really rely on the sidelines to kind of help you out, but when you are in the slot, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry. Shouts out to my wife, bring me that water. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough, when you got the slot, and you move to the slot, man, you're basically on the island all by yourself. And, he's really rise to the occasion. I like the fact that he's becoming more boisterous. He's starting to get into that leadership role. And you're going to need that, him going into his third season. I think that he has a lot of talent. I think that he has a great ability, and, he has that dog in him. And I think that is something that the Saints desperately need across the board. I think that you have some dogs on this team, but you need a little bit more. And when guys start to feel comfortable about their position, when they start to feel more comfortable in their role, you start to see their personalities and the confidence shine through. So I really like what I see out of Alontae Taylor. Think he can be a special player in 2024. The Saints definitely are going to be relying on him to step up, make some plays, and make this defense in the secondary much better than it was in 2023, even though they were very respectable in 2023. But let's stop right there. We had two topics. I'm going to go ahead and read some of your comments here, see what you all have to say. TG says the Falcon talked all that smack, but didn't want to put money on it. Yeah, man, I seen y'all going back and forth in the chat, at in round table, but that was funny, man. Like, shouts out to all the members of the Who Dat Nation coming over, but it's pretty much it's pretty fun over there, man. And Berto, man, that's my guy, man. Like, we have a difference of opinion of a team, but he knows what he's talking about, man. He's extremely passionate about his football team, and he means what he's saying, man. So, it's just always fun, man. We just kind of feed off each other, man. We bust each other's chops because, we pretty cool like that. But he's a good guy, man. Let's see. Trevor Penny got to do better, man. Had another horrible day at practice. Look, man, I'm kind of over this whole Trevor Penny thing. I already told y'all about that. Some people, criticize me and said some things like, man, it's just preseason, man. I didn't had enough. I didn't seen enough out of Trevor Penny. I am off the Trevor Penny train. Like, seriously. Like, anybody that's out here still rooting for him, God bless you. But that's it. Like, this dude going to have to show me something as an onlooker, as a fan of this team. I do not have any confidence. I'm talking zero confidence in Trevor Penny. Like, the guy, and I don't feel bad about saying this because you have professionals that analyze the game, that have played the position, and basically, look at the all 22. They're criticizing this guy, talking about he knows what to do. It just like he gets out there and he just forgets everything that he knows. I'm over it. Like, seriously. Like, I don't know why the Saints are trying to prolong the inevitable here. It's a failure. It is a first round failure. This guy is not going to wake up in the morning and become Ryan Ramczyk. He is not going to wake up in the morning and become Zach Strief. It's just not going to happen. And look, maybe you can salvage him in a jumbo package or something like that. I understand how organizations feel when it comes to them selecting guys don't want to move away from him because, it's pretty evident that it's a mistake, but it's making you look inept as an organization, putting this guy out here and making the fan base feel that this dude is the answer. If Trevor Penning is the answer, you need to change the question. I'm over it. Like, seriously, like this dude to me is a straight bust. He's a bust. Like, if you talk about rookie seasons, right? He got hurt. They talk about he couldn't practice. Fine, whatever. But this whole second year, it's more, it was a red shirt year, his rookie season. All that stuff right there to me was to make him feel comfortable and confident. Oh, we're not evaluating you in your rookie season. You wasn't out there. You wasn't really working out with the team. So, this is more of your rookie season, your second season. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. What has changed about Trevor Penning besides position? He's still out there getting steamrolled, pushed on the ground, and bullied by some smaller players than he is. Like, he got knocked on the ground, I want to say, by a safety. I'm not saying that these dudes can't go up in the gym and be bench pressing 350. I understand that these are really strong gentlemen. But at the same time, dude, you about 6'7", about 330, right? If you weren't a left tackle, you probably would be the heavy for the WWE champion in WWE, right? You would be the physically imposing guy that walks down to the ring, in a suit on, don't say anything, and everybody just anticipating you actually getting in the ring and doing something. That is what Trevor Penning is, and that's what he looks like. But I'm over it. You need to find out what you're going to do at the right tackle position. Is it going to be Ali Udoh? Is it going to be somebody else that's not on the team right now? Because I'm telling you, based on Derek Carr and his ability to see ghosts, anytime he starts to sense pressure, if he doesn't feel confident about that right side, you're not going to get mass production out of his offense. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to stand in the pocket strong. He's not going to try to make plays. He's going to ding it and dunk it down to the Alvin Kamara in the backfield, and it's going to look like Alvin Kamara was responsible for losing a yard, but in reality, is Derek Carr trying to get the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible to make sure that is a completion, and, even though it's a -1 yard. Like, fix this offensive line. Fix it. And Trevor, like, I think you have a large enough sample size to know what Trevor Penning is. Like, unless, like, you know something that we don't, dude is a bust, looking like a bust, like, straight up. Like, I don't feel bad about saying this at all. Like, some people might get upset. Oh, man, just give him a chance. Like, how many chances you gonna give him? Dude, like, tell me what's the difference between Trevor Penning's rookie season and Trevor Penning now. You can roll the footage of Trevor Penning first coming into the league and then fast forward to the Trevor Penning footage that is modern day, and nothing is different. Still getting bullied and still getting, still falling on the ground like he 150. And by 150, I mean 150 pounds. Axa Bump, thank you very much for the $5. Says, smoking them funny cigarettes and watching TJ, this is the life. Well, Josh, hopefully you don't get too sky high, man. Hope you don't get too sky high. We don't want you to be what they say, dapping God. You know what I'm saying? But shouts out to you, man. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Larry says Saints probably should have drafted another tackle instead of Kool-Aid in the second round. Yeah, look, I understand, though. I'm not going to say that, Larry. I understand what the Saints were doing. I understand what DA is. And to me, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. But defensive coaches, more than likely, they start gravitating to defensive players, and they like, man, I want some of that. I do feel like the New Orleans Saints didn't really put too much emphasis on the offensive line or their offense as a whole, right? I don't think they really did the necessary things they needed to do offensively besides add a new coach. And to me, I feel like it's a mistake. I really do. I think that they went into the offseason feeling like, well, we went 9-8 with Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator. All we have to do is change the coordinator and we'll be okay. Haven't they learned from their mistakes? They did the same thing when Sean Payton left the team. All we have to do is hire from within and keep the same coaches around, and we'll find success. We almost made the playoffs. All we need to do is hire from within, hire Dennis Allen, and we should be good to go. How did that work out for you? You have to look at yourself. You have to look at your organization, and you have to realize that you got to make some changes. It ain't just about coaching changes. It got to be with players as well. And I just feel like this is going to be a mistake, not really putting emphasis on the offense, not adding weaponry outside of Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, you got Taysom Hill, yeah. But other than that, man, like, what do you have as far as offense? If one of these guys go down, it's huge. Like, this is like riding in a car, riding on a highway for a trip across the country with no spare tire. Right? No, like, that's how it is. Like, if this tire blows out, you have no spare. You're gonna be on the side of the road, hoping that somebody, will stop for you when you doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to try to flag them down. So you're basically relying on these guys to stay healthy all season long. And I mean, you're already having issues at practice, guys feeling stiff and sore and not playing in games. So you think that all of a sudden, like, oh man, it's week 1, man, let me stop being hurt. It's not going to happen, man. So, which leads me to my next point, folks. Saints receiver injured. A.T. Perry, who had a really good game in week 1 of preseason, got injured, was having a pretty good day. Shouts out to Ross Jackson, said the only thing that he saw was a false start penalty. And, but he was having a good day all in all. And then all of a sudden he goes down. I apologize. I don't have the clip of Dennis Allen talking about that, but he said that it looks like an ankle. So we all know what that means, right? I mean, when we started talking about ankles, like we thought, something like with Michael Thomas, like when he said ankle, we're like, oh man, he'll be back in a couple weeks. So don't know how the severity of the situation, but shouts out to Dennis Allen. He's actually learning. I will give him credit for this. He is actually learning. He is not trying to disclose injuries. He's not trying to put timelines on it. So that's one thing. At least he's learning about, saying I don't want to put a timetable on the injury, which is something that he should have done years ago. Because if people anticipate a player being out 5 weeks, after, those 5 weeks, they expect for that player to come back, right? But if you say, I'm not going to put a timetable on it, now people don't know the severity of the injury. They're not looking forward to this player coming back. They can kind of have this wait and see approach when it comes to the player. So, it's unfortunate because, A.T. Perry to me is a gamer. He's a gamer. He's probably not going to wow you at practice, but when he gets out there on the field, he's just a dog. And, I get it. It seems like Dennis Allen is more, gravitating towards practice and how players look in practice. But sometimes, man, when them bright lights come on, man, some guys just rise to the occasion. And you got to just keep a close eye on what you actually see. I would rather, a guy, when the bright lights come on, perform. Then I can challenge them at practice versus a guy that's a practice MVP like a Brandon Coleman was, and then go out there and just play about as small as Polly Pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? So I like A.T. Perry. I think that he was starting to emerge as that number 3. I think that if he didn't get hurt, I think he probably would have followed it up with a solid game, enough for the depth chart to start to move in his favor. But unfortunately, injuries happen in a game of football. And this means that another player has an opportunity to step up. We've seen Samson Nakua, who the Saints signed from the USFL. He had that back shoulder catch from Spencer Rattler to set up the Charlie Smith 37-yard field goal. We see that Mason Tipton, he didn't play. He had a little bit of an injury too, but he was emerging. He had some solid reps. He was out there balling throughout training camp. So he might be a guy that is on the lookout. And also Cedric Wilson. Cedric Wilson to me didn't stand out at all. They put him out there with the first team. So that's an indication that that's what the Saints feel about him. But you definitely want him to be able to step up. The Saints committing a 2-year deal to him. So I don't see him going anywhere. If they gave him a 2-year deal, that means that they want him to be a part of the offense in some capacity. But man, it's unfortunate. But That's why you have to go out here and maybe look at some of these free agents, because you're not that confident in your wide receiver room. I mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not looking for Juju to be a number one. You shouldn't look at him as being a number one, but he is a veteran that has been in big games. Juju has played in the Super Bowl. Juju has played for the New England Patriots, a very high-profile team. Despite their record, they still get a lot of attention from the media. So this is a guy, and also I forgot the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, he had a really, really good seasons with them before they moved on from him. So this is a guy that can come in, give you some of that veteran presence, a guy that the game is slowed down for. And I always say it, those veterans, the game is slowed down. So that's the less of a hassle. You don't have to worry about, the wide-eyed, bushy-tail rookie and what he's going to do in a game. And also Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is still out there for reasons beyond me. I don't get it. I think this guy can really eat in the slot. And I feel like the way that the Saints offense is trying to structure itself, I think that Hunter Renfrow can be a really good addition to this team. I don't know why. It usually seems like they love themselves some former Raider players. Everybody that seems to be cut by the Raiders or they don't bring back always seems to land with the Saints. So I don't understand why Hunter Renfrow is still out on the street. I would think that your guy, Derek Carr, would probably try to lobby for him or something, but you're going to have to do something with that number 3 receiver position. If you're not going into the season very impressed or feeling confident about your wide receiver room, hell, maybe they are. Maybe they are confident about it. But from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like there's much confidence. If something was to happen to Lave or Shaheed, I'm very, very concerned with this wide receiver room. The occasion, thank you very much for the $2, says Dennis Allen can't rise to me. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. The occasion. Let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we'll get into the next clip. I'm gonna scroll back up a little bit. I know I probably missed a few people. Trying to keep it uniformal here. Let me see. Penning will never get hurt because he doesn't ever put 100% in anything he does. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say he don't put 100% into what he does. Like sometimes it just don't work out. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Like it has nothing to do with the fact that the guy isn't trying. Has nothing to do with the fact that the guy isn't trying to, give it his all or, trying to understand the assignment. I feel like Trevor Penning really wants to excel in the National Football League. I really feel that way. But sometimes, man, it's just a reality. I mean, it's almost like if you are trying desperately to become a professional fighter, you never trained in an amateur, you never went to a boxing gym. Like when like these boxers in modern day, they start off young, they work themselves up, they start working a circuit, then they become an amateur, and maybe they'll go to the Olympics, but let's just say you got off the couch and was like, man, I want to be a boxer, right? I mean, you can train as hard as you want to, but if you go up in there with a guy who's probably been fighting since he was 6 or 7, he probably gonna get knocked out. And it's not the fact that you ain't try hard. You probably gave it everything that you had. Probably, working on your footwork, probably working on your hand speed, et cetera, et cetera. But there's levels to this. There's levels to it, man. And I just feel like he's in over his head right now. And I can appreciate the New Orleans Saints for sticking by a guy that they chose to select in the first round, but you have to be realistic about this thing. Dennis Allen has to be realistic about this thing. To me, he cannot afford to have a bad season. He cannot afford to be playing around with Trevor Penning, because Trevor Penning, the way that he is playing, will give you your job lost, okay? You will lose your job messing around with Trevor Penning, like seriously. And the energy that you are putting into trying to get guys like Justin Simmons, I feel like you need to put that same type of energy and making some phone calls trying to get another right tackle on this team if Ali Udoh or one of these other offensive linemen aren't a good fit. Like you can't be playing around with this. You're not a first-year coach who just inherited a team with a struggling right tackle. Like you had opportunities to try to change this thing around, to work this thing out. So to me, why are you prolonging the inevitable? You're seeing this guy getting beat at practice. You know, I have a lot of respect for Chase Young. I really do. I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for Carl Granderson. But there's some pass rush that the Saints are going to play that are better than both of these gentlemen. Like, so you have to think about it. You got to think about it. Like, is he worth the investment right now? Would you sign off on this? Would you put your job on the line with Trevor Penning as your right tackle? Now, if you're a smart man, you would have to say no. But the New Orleans Saints, you know, to me, sometimes they're about optics. They care about what things look like. Oh, if we move on from them, then people are going to look at us as incompetent. Well, what's more incompetent, once again? The fact that you're putting a guy that is struggling on the field and you want people to believe that this guy is the best you have to offer, which is, to me, is an indictment on the offensive line, if you ask me. If this is the best that you have to offer, if you're bringing this guy out here and he is getting bull rushed back into the pocket, if he is getting pushed on the ground, and you're saying that this guy is the best that we have to offer at right tackle, what does that say about your team? What type of confidence are you trying to instill inside of the Who Dat Nation that you all are trying to right this ship, or the wheels are turning, or you're rounding the corner? Like, what are you doing? Because it's not a good look. And y'all can pretend like it is, but it's not. And it's only going to make people feel like you don't know what the hell you're doing, which in some cases, you know, we can make that argument. But for the most part, I think that they have some coaches on that team that actually know what they're doing. You know, I will say that. But putting that guy out here trying to make the Who Dat Nation believe that this is the best that you have to offer, like, I fail to believe that. And if you're going to bring in a guy like Justin Simmons, I want to say this too before I get back into the clips. If you're going to bring in a guy like Justin Simmons, when you know what his asking price is, you know what he wants. You know what he wants, and you're willing to bring him back in, and you neglect the fact that you need offensive line help. I mean, that is egregious. That is absolutely egregious. Like, I love Justin Simmons as a player. I think if he comes to the New Orleans Saints, it would definitely be helpful. I think that will make their defense even better. But I will not take Justin Simmons over a member of the offensive line right now. If you have money to be able to spend on Justin Simmons, if you found some money in your penny bank or underneath your couch, and you think that you can get Justin Simmons with the asking price he has, you need to put that same energy into bringing in an offensive lineman, because I'm telling you clearly, this Trevor Penning experiment is not working out. And honestly, we're going to see the same thing happen again, where you have Derek Carr seeing ghosts, and there's a potential that he can end up getting hurt, and it don't seem like nobody's going to be able to like question him or try to tell him like, okay, you need to sit down somewhere. Nobody's going to tell him that, because we already seen that this dude went out there pretty much beaten, battered. And instead of somebody like stepping up and saying, you know what, man, we're going to need you down the stretch, they knew the severity of the injury, and they still let that man go out there. So if this happens again, who's to say that they will have that tough conversation? If history has shown us anything, they won't. But let's go ahead and move on to another clip. This is about the safety position. Now, we talked about this on several occasions here on the State of the Saints, where we're wondering to ourselves, like, outside of Tyrann Mathieu, who's going to step up and take the bull by the horn, so to speak? We all got excited about Justin Simmons, right? We got excited about him showing up, visiting New Orleans Saints. We talked about the possibilities of having him and a honey badger, Tyrann Mathieu, in the same secondary. You're having these conversations because you're not too sure outside of Tyrann what you have at the safety position. And DA kind of talked about that. He wants guys to step up and take advantage of the opportunities.
I haven't seen anything from any one of those safeties yet. Okay, probably with the exception of Tyrann Mathieu, where somebody's just jumped out at me and said, it's my job. And that's what I'm looking for. So, I mean, I think ultimately what you're looking for is guys to make plays, guys to have production. So that's interceptions, that's PBUs, that's tackles, guys that are going to play a physical brand of football. Like, those are all the things that I'm looking for. And I'm seeing good things out of the safety position. And yet I haven't seen where somebody's just taken the bull by the horns and, said that this is my job.
I promise you, I didn't know he used that analogy of bull by the horns, but yeah, we speaking the same language. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway, he wants somebody to step up and take over that position. I like Jordan Howden. I think there's some promise there, but I understand DA's position. Like, this is some do or die stuff going on in New Orleans right now when it comes to Dennis Allen as a head coach. That is one of the main reasons why I just don't understand why are you not addressing this offensive line the way that you should. And, I think that you look at Jonathan Abram. I already said what I think about him. I honestly just feel that he's more like that box safety. I feel like he's a liability in coverage in some instances. I think Jordan Howden, there's some highs and lows there. It just kind of comes with the territory of being a young, inexperienced player in the National Football League. I think that he'll grow as a player. I think that having Tyrann Mathieu as his mentor will be beneficial to him. But you need to be able to step up. I don't know exactly what Dennis Allen is looking for. I know that he wants players to catch his eye, understandably. So, you want to be able to have the right nucleus, collection of players out there at the same time to be able to do the things that you need them to do, to be really good communicators, to be able to effectively disrupt plays, to be sure tacklers, to be able to do those pass deflections, right? Get the ball back into the hands of your offense. And if you're not confident in those players, then you might need to go in a different direction. That's the reason why they decide to go and talk to Justin Simmons again. Now, Justin Simmons, as of right now, I believe is visiting the Falcons, so I don't know how that's going to pan out. But all in all, you got to figure out what you're going to do at safety. You want to make sure that you have the right guys out there. I believe in Jordan Howden. I like the upside. I just think that he just needs some reps, some experience. And I think he'll take advantage of those opportunities, man. I'm not real big on the star power. I feel like when it comes to let me take that back. On the defensive side of football, I'm not really too concerned with the star power because for some apparent reason, Dennis Allen can get the best out of players. It's kind of like what Sean Payton was on offense, like just taking average players and making them like bigger than or play better than what they actually could play on any other team or any other scheme. It's the same way with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen can take those players that are kind of like diamonds in the rough, middle of the pack, and he can find a place for them defensively and they can eat. So it's kind of the opposite. It's crazy how the New Orleans Saints team basically have become a team in reverse of what we're used to. Offensively, they were able to get those undrafted, unproven guys offensively. And how many times have we seen those guys make plays? Now it's like you need those offensive players now, right? You need them now, right? You need the creme de la creme because Dennis Allen is a defensive-minded coach versus like, Sean Payton, you needed those defensive-minded guys who are easy read when he was playing there because he was so focused on his offense, averaging about 32, 33 points a game. So it's the script is flipped. So to me, I just feel like you need to put as much emphasis as you're putting on trying to get the right safety next to Tyrann. You need to have that same energy offensively when it comes to the weaponry, your offensive line, et cetera, on the offensive side of the football. So there you have it. Let me read some of your comments before we get into the next topic. Let's start with Ramsey. Ramsey says, Trevor Penny is a special ed tackle. He's awful. He blocked just air. He's definitely a bust. And especially if Foskey, he's terrible also. Well, look, Ramsey, I'm not gonna question these guys' intellect. First off, you can't be no dummy going to Notre Dame, and you can't be no dummy going to Northern Iowa. I know you never heard of those schools, but they're very, very well accredited. I wouldn't say that these guys aren't very smart individuals. I think that they're very intelligent. The thing about it is there's levels to this. I'm just letting y'all know. It's just certain things that you need in order for you to play the game at a high level. You need confidence. You need swag. You need aura. And you know what I'm saying? You need to have trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in yourself to be able to do it. Belief in yourself that even though you may be going up against Michael Parsons or Chris Jones or Matthew Judon or Hassan Reddick or some of these other pass rushers, Trey Hendrickson, makes me sick to my stomach just saying here's his name when it comes to another team, but y'all get what I'm saying. Like, you got to believe in your heart and your soul that I'm the baddest mofo walking the face of God's green earth. And it's rather you have it or you don't. You got a practice squad guy right now that feels like that's probably on the Miami Dolphins that feels if I get opportunity, I can put up numbers like Tyreek. And that may sound crazy, but you need that in order for you to perform at a high level. I think the biggest issue when it comes to Trevor Penning, I don't think it's the talent. I think it's the confidence. And I just think that he is in his own head right now. You know, I mean, I don't think an offensive lineman just forgets, technique. I just feel like he's in his head right now. And to me, I don't think it's fixable. I don't think it's fixable. I think he is what he is. And I don't think that's going to change. I think that he struggles constantly with I think it's a little bit of an identity crisis. Like, I know what I should be doing, but should I be doing it? If I do it, will this guy blow past me? Like, I don't know, man. What I'm seeing right now is a guy who is struggling. And the biggest battle is not the defensive end that he's going up against, but it's Trevor freaking Penning. So I don't know how you can fix that. I don't know how you can fix it. And I understand the psychological impact that playing the offensive line can have on you. I've said this before, and I can appreciate him. I know he's from a rival team, but I appreciate his candor. Tristan Wirfs was playing right tackle. Y'all know when he came out of Iowa, he was playing right tackle, and he was really good. And then, of course, like, they came to him a few years into his career and said, we want you to switch to the left side. He said he had to go to therapy because he knew about the trauma that it was going to have on him. So he had to go get his mind right. Like, man, football is a mental game, not just about, being cerebral and coming up with strategies, man. Like, there's a battle that goes on within yourself. And if you don't have yourself together mentally, I don't care what physical tools you possess, you're not going to be able to live up to your full potential. So I don't know how you can fix that. I don't know how you can fix it. But I think the biggest battle when it comes to Trevor Penning is not the defensive lineman that he's going up against. It's Trevor Penning. So once again, I do not know how you can fix that. But I am off. I'm off that train. That train, I'm off. If he ends up becoming much better, great. But when I say I have zero confidence in this guy at the right tackle position or any position on the offensive line, I mean I have zero confidence. Like, whatever he does to me would be lanyap at this point. And I think that the Saints will be making a huge mistake having him out there week 1 at the right tackle position. I am sorry. I'm sorry. It would be a huge mistake. Unless he becomes Ryan Ramczyk, Zach Strief overnight, it will be a huge mistake. And you're setting your quarterback up to be killed. Because as much as I like C. Ruiz too, like, he hit and miss as well. He's much better than he was when he first came, but he's still hit and miss. And you put a hit and miss player in Ruiz next to a player that is completely whiffing. My goodness. You right about that. Should have at least gave the enemy a try at it. Nah, I'm good on that. I don't know about that right now. Like, to me, I like Eric Bieniemy, but I feel like he to go. Like, I don't know if he the right answer or not. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Eric Bieniemy has become the poster boy for affirmative action hiring or something. Like, I don't know if he's the answer to anybody's head coaching situation. I don't know, but it just seems like people feel like he deserves a chance, which he deserves to give him a chance. But if I'm sitting up here saying, and I'm just being 100% real with y'all, if Dennis Allen was to be fired at the end of the season, I can honestly tell you, like, Eric Bieniemy wouldn't be like my top 5 coach to fix this organization. He just wouldn't. Like, I would think that Eric Bieniemy belongs somewhere as a head coach, but I don't think what's going on with the Saints and, when it comes to the morale of the Who Dat Nation and where it's at right now, I don't know if he will actually be the guy for the job. Like, I don't, like, I would take Brian Flores over Eric Bieniemy right now. Like, but there's several other coaches that I feel could come into this organization and inject a lethal dose of poison. Like Vince McMahon would say, a lethal dose of poison inside the organization that is necessary for the organization to thrive. And I just think that's where we at right now. I think that this organization, the vibe of it is stale as bread left open for 24 hours. I just feel like the energy of the Who Dat Nation is almost like self-motivational. Like, it's almost like you're trying to, like, get yourself fired up and give yourself reasons why you should cheer. Like, man, I know we're going to be okay. Instead of like, I know we're going to be all right. It's nothing really that the organization is doing to instill that level of confidence. It's more so the love that you have for this team that is keeping you in this fight, right? It's almost like, if you're hanging off a cliff, right? And, below you is somebody that you love unconditionally, right? And you just holding on to them. Like your arm is going numb. Like, it's like, man, I know my arm is going numb. I know my arm is asleep, but I gotta hold on to this person because I love him. I don't want to see him go. That's the way you feel about the Saints organization, right? It's like you want this organization to succeed, and that's what you're holding on to, right? But it's all self. It's not the organization itself. Like, it's not what they're doing. It's more so your love for this team that's keeping you in this fight. And you need something different from that. Now, I do feel like the ultimate cure is winning. The ultimate cure is winning football games, getting people back on board, giving them something to cheer about. Think about this. Week 1, Saints, Carolina Panthers. You walking into the Superdome. Are you walking into the Superdome with confidence? Or are you walking into the Superdome with a wait-and-see approach? Right? Are you anticipating the offense looking like the greatest show on turf? Or are you walking into the Superdome thinking how many dump down and check down passes Derek Carr is going to throw? Is Derek Carr going to overthrow a wide open receiver? Am I going to be booing? Like, it's a mixed emotions. Like, versus years ago when you walk into the Superdome, you don't know, like, the game's a toss-up, right? Wins or losses, but you're going to see some excitement offensively. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Like, I just feel like you're basically giving yourself hope versus the team. It's something ain't right about it. Like, it's a whole different vibe over the last couple of years. And I just think that people want to feel confident about this football team. And it's kind of hard to, especially, like, I understand it's preseason and the offense is simplistic, which is even worse, because it's like, well, if you can't operate this simplistic offense, like, what's going to happen when y'all really start using motion and wheeling and dealing and moving around? Like, what's going to happen then? So I don't know. I don't know if it's San Francisco. I don't know if it's going to be Tennessee, but something has to happen to give the Who Dat Nation a little bit of confidence going into the season. And when that confidence is coming in the form of a guy in Spencer Rattler that is not going to play, throwing it to a guy, Samson Nakua, that more than likely probably will be on the practice squad or may not even be on his team when the final 53 come out. I don't know. So hopefully they can actually, put a little bit more pep in a step. Let's see. I'm trying to get excited for this season. Just have to prepare for the highs and lows, just like the past 2 seasons. Yeah, I mean, there are going to be highs and lows. There are going to be trials and tribulations. I mean, I get all that, man. But we just want to have something that we can cheer for, right? You just want to be able to, man, I know my team about to put on for the city today. Like I said, it's hard to look at this team. And not to say that these players aren't talented. They are. But it's hard to look at this team based on what you've seen over the last couple of years. And you have your reservations about the coach, reservations about the quarterback, reservations about, oh, man, I'm hoping and I'm praying that Chris Olave can play all the games and Rashid Shaheed can play all the games. And who's going to be the number 3? Like, it's a roller coaster ride in your head. Like, you're excited that football is back because you're a football fan. But are you excited fully to watch your favorite football team play? If you're being honest with yourself, like, if you're excited, you're probably excited because it's football season and you've been a Saints fan your whole life. So any football is better than no football. But it's not because you feel like the Saints about to put foots in play in teams every single week. So I don't know how you change that. Well, I know how you change it. You start winning. And you start to build confidence in the Who Dat Nation that you can deliver. Paul says, should look at the gut that is drafting these players and not not the players. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it that way. I do feel like, some of these players have been misses. I do feel like some of the draft process in years past is more so like, let me show you what I can do with this guy. Oh, look what we found. I'm going to show them we smarter than everybody else while y'all over here trying to get these Ohio State guys. I've been in the trenches looking at a guy from Northern Iowa. I've been in the trenches looking at a guy from the University of Houston. Like, that's fine and dandy if it works. But I'm just wondering to myself, like, I'm just looking, like, first round picks, over the last couple of years, like Marcus Davenport. Bust. I mean, Peyton Turner, at this point, failure. Trevor Penning, at this point, failure. You get what I'm saying? Like, Northern Iowa, University of Texas at San Antonio for Davenport, and Houston for Peyton Turner, right? None of those schools you could consider a powerhouse, right? We're not talking about Alabama. We're not talking about Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. We ain't talking about none of them, right? But there's a reason. While when you look at some of these Georgia players, coming into the league, like Jordan Davis, hitting the ground running, like, man, some of these other guys, that just hit the ground running because they've been in big moments. They've been in those big moments. The lights aren't too bright for them. They know how it feels to walk into a stadium that have 100,000 people off in that thing. They know about having a limelight because they got to play for a national championship, and all eyes of the college football world are on them. You got 2 battles that you're dealing with if you draft a player coming out of these smaller schools. Number one, it's the battle with them understanding the brightness of the lights, right? You got to believe that they belong there. They're also dealing with the speed that they're not used to. Like, they're not even really dealing, to be honest with you, with basic powerhouse college football speed. Now, some of these guys can overcome that. We see that all the time, but at the end of the day, I don't feel like you built like that. the Saints aren't designed at this particular point to be messing around with projects. They just not. Like, you need somebody that's a sure thing. If, for example, if Marvin Harrison Jr. was there when you was drafted, you need to get Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a reason why they were one pick away from not having Tallahassee Fuaga. They were going to get Brock Bowers. But that's the way you need to be thinking. You need to be thinking, who is the best player for me? Now, Tallahassee Fuaga was definitely the best player, in my opinion, that you can select. And hopefully this can actually turn the page. But at this point, you need to be looking at the Ohio States. You need to be able to look at the Georgias, the LSUs, right? You need to start looking at schools like that, ones that have proven products that you know for a fact, as soon as they step foot on the field, there's going to be one thing that you probably going to have to do for them. Tell them to tone it down. Unlike Isaiah Foskey, who you have to tell to keep that motor running, right? You didn't cut your motor off in what, minus 4 degrees, right? And you trying to start that thing up. Nah, bro, that motor is cold, bro. Right? You got to put that self-starter on. Let that thing run for like 10 minutes. By the time you're in there, you nice and warm. You ready to take off because that engine is burned. Now, you know, Notre Dame is a powerhouse school. I can't really explain that, but all I'm saying is you might want to go for more proven products. Does that make sense? Like, I just don't. I feel like when you're looking at players that, you know, been drafted over the last couple of years coming from these big schools, I don't really see too many like busts out there, right? Like, especially like when they performed at a high level in college. I don't feel like you just gonna automatically just turn it to suck when you in the NFL. But I don't know, man. Like, I just like stop trying to go with these projects. Stop trying to go at the projects. I get it. Like, if you hit on individuals like this, these undrafted guys, like, they can play in your system 2 and 3 years for the low price of $3.99. I get all that, but damn, can we stop being so cheap? Can we start like looking at some of these big time players? I don't feel like they're, you know, you look at a player like Chris Olave, who came from Ohio State. As soon as he hit the league, he was a 1,000-yard receiver. Why? Because you had Justin Fields and CJ Stroud throwing him the freaking football. This man playing in the Sugar Bowl. This man was playing in the Superdome before he even stepped foot in the New Orleans Saints facility or put on a black and gold uniform. This guy was playing at a high level. He was competing for a national championship in the college football playoff. I'm not saying don't look at none of these, like, you know, small mid-major schools. I'm not saying that, because there are guys that exceed expectations and they ball the hell out. But what I'm saying is, at this point, like, y'all ain't on that level. Y'all ain't on that level. Like, y'all need to hit the ground running. Y'all need to be knocking them out the park. Because based on your salary cap situation, you have to hit it out of the park. That's the reason why you got to go and get, you know, Shaq Mason. And you got to keep on hoping that a guy like Mason Tipton can work out, and got to go get Puka Nacua, older brother, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, older brother. Like, that's why you can't bring anybody in or make a trade or anything like that, because you keep on whiffing on these first round draft picks. And then to make it even more egregious, you're basically trading with teams and you're missing on first round picks. Like, by you making that trade and getting those 2 first round draft picks from the Eagles, like, you passed out, you know what I'm saying, on one of the best defensive tackles that they say is going to come out in the next 10 years. Like, like the decisions that you're making, it just makes you look like you don't know what the hell you're doing. So I don't know. And then they try to like correct the mistake by bringing other people in. Like I said, man, I don't know. Like, you got 2 potential all-pro receiver brothers that you got, right? I guess if they rubbed up against them or something like that, maybe played with them in the backyard, maybe some of that toughness and some of that all-pro ability probably rub off on them. But that ain't it, bro. That ain't it. Like, I hope they work out, but that's the reason why you got to do it, because you keep on whiffing on these first-round picks. So, like I said, now you gotta get couch cushion players, and no, like I said, no disrespect to players. I'm talking about from a salary standpoint. You got to get players that you got to coach up and keep on pushing and saying, come on, man. Versus a guy that as soon as he step out on the field, he yelling and screaming. He got his CJ Garner Johnson on. He just yelling and screaming like, yeah, man, I'm about to do you in, and you in. And people like, oh, man. Like, because he know he a dog. I think I was looking at Cam Newton the other day. He was like, man, when you have those undrafted guys or guys that's late round picks, he's like, they can't talk in the locker room. You got a bunch of guys that can't really talk in the locker room. Like when it comes to the pecking order, they just happy to be there. They just happy that they found room off in that thing, man. Like it's like being outside in the heat all day. And then you walk up in a place, be like, man, we got a few more spaces in here. Somebody want to get some of this AC. Man, let me slide all up in there. They just happy they're in the room. They just happy like, they go out there and run and have their uniform on and their mama can say, hey, that's my baby on TV. Y'all see him? Versus a guy that, is no surprise to his mama, because he belongs there. So she at the game, Let's see, man, TJ, you are hitting on all the points. The Saints are in this bad spot because they went for these unproven players from the small time schools. Yeah. Because that's what they've been built on. Like they try to find these diamonds in the rough. They find these guys that they feel like other people don't be paying attention to, because the reality is they probably ain't paying attention to them because they're too busy looking at Ohio State practices, Oregon practices, looking at some of these other top-notch schools. Like it's okay to go with the obvious. Like I'm okay. Like I don't care if every mock draft says that you're drafting this top player and you end up getting them anyway. So what? Like, no need to trick the system. Why are you trying to trick the system? Like, why are you trying to like, oh, everybody said we're gonna do this, but watch this. That ain't hitting on nothing, man. That ain't hitting on nothing. Like you do all that, right? You do all that wheeling and dealing. You pass up on Jalen Carter. There was a chance, like, okay, if the Saints didn't make that trade with the Eagles, they would have had Jalen Carter. And no disrespect, like you still got Brian Brzee. I think that that was a bailout in my opinion. I think Brian Brzee has a really good upside, but you could have got Jalen Carter instead of Davenport. Like if you would have just took a chance, you would have had a future 2-time NFL MVP in Lamar Jackson. But instead you get Davenport. Like I'm serious, man. I'll never forget, as long as I live on the face of God's green earth, where I was at when this happened. I was at Planet Fitness. Some of y'all heard this story before. I was at Planet Fitness and I was working out at the gym, and I was on the treadmill, and I seen the Saints like traded up. And I was like, oh, snap, boy. I was getting a good little workout in, boy. I was getting a good little sweat on. And, so I was really pushing myself. But I was like, by the time I got off the treadmill, the Saints going to be picking. When I seen them trade up and I seen Lamar Jackson still on the clock, I'm talking about like I stopped what I was doing. I was standing in front of the TV like I was about to be drafted. Like they just called me on the phone and said, man, I'm about to hear my name. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that I thought that they wasn't going after Lamar Jackson. When I heard that they would go draft Marcus Davenport, man, y'all should have seen. Like, I literally was not the fact that I just at the time I was like, man, Marcus Davenport, like this dude gonna suck, because I didn't know much about him for me to even feel that way. But I was just so disgusted, bro. So, I mean, when you look at the careers, I mean, it ain't even close. But that's what you could have had. And what has been an issue that we've had over the last couple of years is the quarterback position. And it would have worked out perfectly. Because if you looked at Lamar Jackson's career, he didn't start. Joe Flacco did. Joe Flacco started. If I'm not mistaken, Joe Flacco was the starter. Lamar Jackson did not start his first year. He did not. So even if Lamar Jackson wouldn't have started his second year, but the New Orleans Saints would have put him out there kind of in the same type of capacity that Baltimore put him in, because they did have packages for him. By the time Drew Brees retired, this dude would have been hitting the ground running. You could have had yourself a Jordan Love situation. But of course, his skill set, his ability, that scared the New Orleans Saints. And sometimes, like these cultures that you build, sometimes it's time to break away from that stuff. Like these big 6'6", 6'7" defensive ends. Oh, it got long wingspan. But you got these 6'3", 6'4", 250 defensive ends, like getting 16 and a half, 17 sacks. Like, it's a copycat league. You can't just sit up here and just look at them and see that they're eating over here. And, you know, like everybody else, like, man, they eating all the delicacies over here, right? They eating all of it. And you over there eating beanie weenies. You know, like you just chugging them away. You just chugging them away, right? Man, I'm good with these beanie weenies, bro. They over here with elk steaks and you know what I'm saying, and filet mignon and lamb and all that kind of stuff, and you still over here eating beanie weenies, content. Like, if you see something that's working, why not work? Like, why not try it? Why not try it? That's my whole point. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Cam Jordan. We're going to be right back after this word from BetUS. Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones, and I want to say thank you for checking out this video here on the State of the Saints podcast. And I want to let you know this season, the State of the Saints podcast is powered by BetUS. Sign up and save up to 125% on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Go to BetUS to find out more. The description is down below. I promise you, I wouldn't read a teleprompter. It looked like I was about here, like, and the nominees are, but seriously, and shouts out to BetUS. You know, we are powered by BetUS, right? I'm not really good at these plugs, man. As y'all can see, that's why I had to pre-record it. But anyway, BetUS, the description is down below. Once again, save 125% on your first 3 deposits up to 2,000 of them. Dang. Now let's get back into the comments, and then we'll talk about Cam Jordan, and then we'll do the benediction. May the Lord watch between me. And these suckers said, Marcus Davenport, I died inside. Man, I didn't know. Like, I'm like, who? It's kind of like, you know, the report when it comes to the Saints now. Like, they signed somebody today, man. I was like, man, who? Like, I didn't know who they was. Like, they just be signing people I swear I never even heard of. Now, I'm not saying these guys don't have potential, but I'm like, boy, y'all really adamant not getting somebody that is actually proving themselves in the league. Like, you got Hunter Renfrow on the street. You got Juju. You know, like, man, these dudes still can run. You know, and what you need, like, you're not asking these guys to come in and be your leading receiver, 1,000-yard receiver. Man, let me see. Let me check. It was someone who the Saints picked up today, and I was like, man, who? And I like to, like, really pride myself out of knowing, like, you know, these nooks and cranny wide receivers. But I promise you, I did not know. I did not know this cat. I'm trying to see who it was. I'm talking, man. I can't see. I can't think his name. But anyway, like, I'm like, man, it was somebody, man. Somebody helped me out. It was a wide receiver. But I'm like, man, who in the world? Like, who in the world? Like, is this? And I mean, no disrespect, but I'm like, man, who are y'all signing? Man, I gotta find this guy's name, man. Bear with me. Let me see, man. Let me, like, somebody put it up there. I don't know who it was. Let me see if it was Underhill on that. It just came across. Okay, no. It was actually a cornerback, right? It was a cornerback. Caleb Ford Dement. I don't know who that is. Like, I'm pretty sure he's a fine young man, a really talented athletic player, but I'm like, who is this? Like, it's like they be signing folk that I ain't never even heard of, man. Like, it's like breaking news. The Saints have signed Elijah Mufton. Elijah Mufton played 4 years at Montana State. Like who? Yeah, and I don't know, man. Like they be these names, bro. Like I'm like, bro, I don't know who these folk is. Like I don't know them from, and that, like I said, that could be a good thing, you know, flying under the radar, but that's what happens when you're basically trying. Like I don't care what the Saints are saying. They trying to get back into the middle. They're trying to get back into the middle, folk. They trying to go for what they're trying to be competitive, all the while trying to get their cap back to the middle, because they know what we know. Like they're gonna have to like change some things around for this team to be competitive consistently. I'm not saying that they can't be competitive this year, but I'm talking about like consistently competitive. They're gonna have to make some changes. They're gonna have to move and shake some things around. So that's the reason why you hearing that they signed Samson Nakuda, Equimedius St. Brown, and bringing back Shaq Davis and all these other cats. You know what I'm saying? Like you hoping that these guys can splash. Like, come on, man. Come on. But seriously, like that's what happens, you know. That's the price you pay. I wanted to TJ how much that LSU game affected Lamar Jackson's draft status, because LSU defense put it to him that game. Well, look, it probably did, but look, I think a lot of people were afraid of Lamar Jackson. They didn't expect for him to be able to grow and develop into the quarterback that he is. And, you know, shouts out to the Baltimore Ravens who were able to have confidence, have that belief that he can actually be that MVP that he is. And that's all it took. That's all it took. You know, people like to evaluate these players based on like, oh, man, he had a bad game and all that. But there's one thing that you cannot underestimate, and that is the heart of a champion. And Lamar Jackson knew what he was when he first stepped foot in the National Football League. When everybody was saying, oh, he should try out at wide receiver, man said he was a quarterback. And I guarantee you, like, since they made that statement, I don't think anybody that is covering the National Football League will say that Lamar Jackson isn't a quarterback. But that's what happens when you have that type of confidence. And, you know, Sean Payton, you know, he misses. He misses. He like, and to his credit, he actually admitted it. I remember watching an interview when he was talking to Colin Cowherd. And, you know, he was talking about like Jalen Hurts. He was like, when I saw Jalen Hurts, he was like, I'll be honest with you. He's like, I did not see what I saw. If he says that, you know what he's saying in the back of his mind? I thought about drafting him, but I wasn't sure. Sometimes like these guys, you see their skill set and you wondering, well, is that all they have to offer? But when you have a player that is confident in his ability, that has that heart, that has that dog in him, like it's undeniable. It's undeniable. But they made a huge mistake twice because you had an opportunity to get Jalen Hurts and you didn't. Had an opportunity to get Lamar Jackson and you didn't. I mean, you wanted Patrick Mahomes, like you tried to get him, but you know, Kansas City jumped in front of you. It is what it is. But you had an opportunity to be able to bring somebody in Lamar Jackson that probably would have got you over the hump. Like Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC, and that's top heavy as hell. Imagine in 2024, what you see in the NFC, and Lamar Jackson is your quarterback. The Saints going to the freaking Super Bowl. They going to the Super Bowl, folks. One pick could have changed the trajectory of your franchise forever. One pick. And you decided to go with someone, God bless him, that was constantly hurt and didn't play. Well, Lamar played. He didn't play at a power conference, but he played in major college football. He played against the ACC, right? You know, like, so that counts. If you would have got Lamar Jackson in the modern day NFC, the way the quarterback position is structured here, like you only have like a few quarterbacks that actually stand out in the NFC. And Lamar Jackson is think about this. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time league MVP playing in the AFC where they have some of the best quarterbacks in all of football playing. So sometimes you got to take that risk. Yeah, but TJ, nothing made you more upset than that Ruiz pick. I remember that because I was ticked too. Yeah, look. And the reason why I was upset, like, even though like I did kind of backtrack a little bit about Jordan Love, I wasn't sure about him. But the fact that I wanted the Saints to draft him instead of Cesar Ruiz, like if you go back and watch that without looking at like some of my takes and my thoughts about Jordan Love, based on like I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was, like being a starter. I thought that because the times I seen him come into games, I wasn't really impressed. But the fact that if you never seen any of the shows that I've done, and you would think that I was like prophesizing something, even though I was at the time, because I thought I believed in Jordan Love's upside. But as time went on, after I seen him come into the game, sometimes I really wasn't impressed. But yeah, I was upset. I was really upset. Ricky said, but Lamar can't get to the Super Bowl. Why can't he get to the Super Bowl? Ask yourself that. Why can't he get to the Super Bowl? Think about this, Ricky. Think about this. I just said he plays in a conference. He plays in a conference. I think I said division. He plays in a conference with some of the best quarterbacks in the game. If he goes to the NFC, what team do you look at in the NFC that you don't feel like if Lamar Jackson was the Saints quarterback, the Saints couldn't beat? Like, this guy's going up against some of the best defenses in football. The Cleveland Browns would have had the #1 ranked defense in football. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a top 10 defense, right? I mean, like these teams are pretty doggone good. And for the exception of the secondary of Cincinnati, them dogs were hunting. So he's playing in a tough division defensively that's scheming against him. Then if you just so happen to get out of the North, which they did, you got Patrick Mahomes waiting on you. You got Josh Allen waiting on you, right? You got Joe Burrow waiting on you. You got Joe Burrow twice. So to say that, if Lamar comes to the NFC, come on, man. Look who he's going up against. He'll be eating in the NFC. He will be eating in the NFC. Like, it wouldn't even be a competition, if you ask me. It wouldn't even be a competition. If you would have got Lamar Jackson, the Saints would be a Super Bowl contender right now. Right now. Look at this defense. Look at this defense. Look at the defense and how it's structured. All we saying is we just need the offense to be a top 15. We just need this offense to be a top, top 15 offense. We just need it to be a top 15 offense. Middle of the pack. With this defense. And you're telling me Lamar Jackson for the New Orleans Saints with a top 10 defense. You're telling me that they wouldn't be in the playoffs? You telling me they wouldn't be putting foots in this division right now? I do not believe that. I don't. And then on top of that, based on the very limited like wide receiver group that you have, it really will be eating. Because his skill set would be perfect for what you're lacking right now. You got 2 wide receivers. Outside of them, you don't know where you at. With Lamar Jackson, how many wide receivers he got that you can really count on? Don't say Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman, I thought he was going to be something like average at best. And you got Zay Flowers, who I expect to be able to step up and make some plays this season. Outside of that, you got Mark Andrews as your tight end. So you basically got Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers. Thus, Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. 2 receivers that you can eat with. And you got a quarterback with running back type elusivity. And every defense is basically afraid of him hurting you with his legs. So There's not a doubt in my mind. If Lamar Jackson was the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, first off, I guarantee you Sean Payton would still be the coach. And if you had Dennis Allen as your defensive coordinator, bruh, be special. We definitely winning at least one Super Bowl with Lamar and Sean. Yep, Sean Payton would still be here to this day. Right now. He'll be here. Like if Lamar Jackson was his quarterback, he'll still be with this team. Shake, Rattler, and roll. Spencer will take the black and gold to the Super Bowl. Look, I don't know if he's going to take him to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to take him there or not. But that I like his energy. I think that is the injection that the New Orleans Saints need inside of this organization. I really do. I hope that, they can be successful this year offensively, but that dude ain't going anywhere. Like, this is going to be that year where the Saints carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. 4 if you count Taysom Hill in this capacity. Like, you do not let this dude leave the room. Like, you do not let this dude, get on waivers because he won't be on your team. And you talk, you talking about upset. Like, if, let's just say, for example, the quarterback competition happens and then all of a sudden the Saints decide that Jake Hayner is the best guy for the job this year. And they allow Spencer Rattler, to go. Boy, you talk, I think the there's not a member of the Who Nation that would not believe that there's some type of conspiracy going on when it comes to Spencer Rattler. The popularity that he has gained. They don't want another Jameis Winston situation. Where Jameis Winston was the most popular quarterback on the roster, and your starting quarterback is Derek Carr. They don't want that. But you talking about, man, you talking about angry. Boy, you talking about pitchforks and torches, going down the Porter Street. It'll be rough. But our final topic of this podcast, we got to talk about Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan, longtime New Orleans Saints player, future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, definitely belongs in the Saints Ring of Honor, all-time leader in sacks. Cam Jordan has done it all with the New Orleans Saints. Takes a lot of pride in his ability. It's been a pleasure, just to watch this man play every single week. And, it's going to be a pleasure to continue to watch him play until he decides to hang it up. But Cam Jordan is doing something a little bit different. He's moving to the inside, trying some defensive tackle. And Dennis Allen spoke a little bit about Cam Jordan moving into the inside, and what was the thought behind that?
Yeah, I think space is not as great when you're on the inside. I think things happen a little bit faster on the inside. So there's a few things from a fundamental and a technique standpoint that he just needs some reps in there. And really, look, I think it's probably been since he was in college that he had any sort of significant reps, inside as a rusher. He's moonlighted in there a little bit, here and there, but never on a consistent basis. And so I think him getting some reps inside, is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, so he feels like it's going to be beneficial for Cam, and I agree. At this stage, Cam is up there in age, so you kind of got to go with the younger guard. It's pretty obvious that the New Orleans Saints are letting us know that Carl Granderson, this is his defense now. Cam is the leader, but they're looking at Carl Granderson to be that succession plan. And if Chase Young can actually be everything that we know he can be, this can be a dangerous 1-2 punch right here. And Cam Jordan, with his ability to be able to rush the passer, if you can get him on the field on third down, rushing a passer with his skill set and ability, you have a better chance of getting a quarterback to the ground. So I like the approach. I looked at Cam Jordan. There was one video I saw. It seemed like it was pretty obvious that he gained a little bit of weight. So I was like, yeah, they're going to try him on the inside as well as the outside. But they're also doing it with Peyton Turner, which he mentioned in the press conference as well. Peyton Turner played inside and outside in college, so maybe having him on the inside would be helpful. And you also have Nate Shepard and Colin Saunders there and Brian Brzee. So if you can get that good rotation going, you keep on rotating these guys out, you have yourself a very formidable defensive line. So I like what they're doing with Cam Jordan. Gives them opportunity to stay on the field when you got Young and Granderson out there. So let's see how this will look. I think that it'll pay dividends for the New Orleans Saints. And I kind of felt that way too, because Cam Jordan kind of hinted that. I want to say he was being interviewed on the NFL Network, and he kind of alluded to the fact that he might play some inside. But shouts out to him, because I can remember a few years before that, he was like, that's something that he didn't want to do. So that tells you that he's a team first guy. He's willing to do everything that it takes in order for him to, for the team to be successful, right? He's not led by ego, right? He's willing to do the dirty work. He's willing to do the little things or make compromises in order for him to be a part of a successful defense. So respect to Cam Jordan. Said TJ, they said Sean took Caesar before he got wind that the Chiefs wanted him, and that was his way of getting back at the Chiefs for taking Patrick Mahomes. Well, I don't know if that's the case or not, but you should never pick out of spite. You should never make decisions out of spite. You should always think with your head, not your heart. Most times, you fall in love with certain players and you're like, man, I'm gonna pick them no matter what. But if you're picking players out of spite, man, that's a way that you'll lose your job. But we know that Sean put up so much positive equity, like he was basically Teflon Don around that thing. So ain't nobody was going to question him or challenge him, because he was the most successful coach in Saints history. So he could have did whatever he wanted at that point. Only his tight ends, by the way, to be honest. Let's see, a dual 1,000-yard rusher, Lamar and Kamara. Yeah, they'll be eating. They would be eating. First off, because Teron Armstead would have never left. I'm just calling it out. If you had issues at the right tackle, you probably would have addressed them, because it would have been obvious that you needed that particular help. If Ryan Ramczyk wasn't available, you probably would have went right tackle. And if you would have drafted, let's just say, for example, if you would have drafted right tackle, then it would have been Tallahassee Fuaga on one side and Teron Armstead on the left. And then if Teron Armstead decides to hang it up, then you move Tallahassee to the left. So defense still has to prove it can generate turnovers, stop run, mobile quarterbacks, and have pass rush consistently, and stop good teams. Good stats last year versus bad teams, but look at the Lions and Rams games. Well, yeah, but at the same time, like, we can't nitpick about these certain situations. Like, you're going to struggle. Like, you're going to struggle against good teams. Like, you had a lot of teams that struggled against the Rams. Like, Rams went up against some really good defenses and still ate. You had Puka Nacua. What, he had like 1,500 yards. I'm pretty sure he wasn't just playing. I'm pretty sure he was playing some really good defense. You had to play San Francisco twice, right? Seattle, their defense was still pretty potent. So you're going to, like, yeah, what I'm saying? Like, if you go up against like really good offensive minds, like, they're going to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that simple. Like, they're going to eat. And as far as like them being able to stop certain quarterbacks, like mobile quarterbacks, I do agree with that. But I think that's the reason why you bring in guys like Willie Gay, who are like sideline to sideline linebackers. P. Warner, you kind of feel like he's in that mode too. And also, when it comes to defense, like when it's talking about with the pass rush, I agree with that. That's the reason why you got Chase Young. That's the reason why you bring in somebody to be opposite of Carl Granderson right there. They're addressing the issues there, no cap. So that's a good thing right there. As far as some of these mobile quarterbacks, I feel like that's something that, like I said, those linebackers going to be able to stop. But I also think that a lot of what the Rams run and what the Lions run, if you notice, they run a lot of motion too. I think the Saints had those issues, no cap, because their defense wasn't going up against that every single week, right? They weren't going up against it. It was the Saints ran a classic West Coast offense, right? With very little motion being used. So I feel like by Clint Kubiak coming in and them being able to see certain looks that they offense more than likely wouldn't be showing the defense, it would actually help them against some of the Ben Johnson offenses now and some of Sean McVay offensive schemes, because they kind of like, do the same thing. So when you start to see motion, you can kind of see what that offense is going to do, because your offense is kind of mirroring that. So it's almost like, it's hard to get an A when, you don't know the material for the test, right? Like if you're studying, like, man, I'm about to study for this test, but then when you get there, it's like nothing that you studied is on the test. It's kind of hard for you to be able to, like, dictate that. Like if you're not playing those teams consistently, then you're not going to be focused on that. And if you notice, like you look at Tampa, you look at Atlanta kind of changed it up just a little bit last season, but you basically structure your team to be able to counteract what your division foe is doing. So a lot of these teams kind of, cut from the same cloth. But if you notice now, you got the Falcons, they running this wide zone. Carolina running a wide zone. The Saints running the wide zone. Tampa is like the only team out there. Even I feel like they're going to implement that. So all these teams are going to be doing some of the same things because their coaches that they hired or the offensive coordinators that they hired are kind of trying to do the same thing. So I feel like this entire division, is probably going to look different offensively. It's probably a good thing because it helps the New Orleans Saints to be able to go up against some of those teams who have taken step forward offensively when it comes to the innovation. So it's kind of hard. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to like sit up here and not understand like why they fail at that. Like if you don't have like if you don't have a coordinator that's running that same type of offense, you're not seeing it all the time. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle because you ain't used to seeing it. They need to do the same thing with Trevor Penny, put him inside and left guard and get another right tackle. Yeah, I mean, I think a right tackle coming. I think it's coming in the next draft. If Sean did that, I'm glad he's gone. That's some emotional stuff. Yeah, I agree. I think the battle with Ruiz, he was supposed to battle McCoy for the center. That never happened. Ruiz needs to be a backup now, too, with Penny. Well, you pay Cesar Ruiz that type of money, he playing. Lamar is a winner. Yep, Lamar is a winner. He's a good quarterback, too. Every O-line player is playing out of position. That's what they played in college. Yeah. Cesar Ruiz played center. I want to say Eric McCoy played guard. Tallahassee Fuaga played right tackle. And Trevor Penny played left tackle. And who else am I missing? Well, I don't know what Lucas Patrick played. I'm pretty sure he played guard in college. Probably played center too. Let's see. I just read an article saying, should the Saints sign Juju Smith-Schuster? Should we? Yes or no? My answer is no. Well, look, I just think that he has something that he can bring to the table. Like we got to ask ourselves, Jerry, what are we asking him to do? Like when we say the name Juju Smith-Schuster, like are we looking at him like Juju in Pittsburgh? Are we looking at him like Juju in Kansas City? Like he did some things, in Kansas City. It wasn't anything like to write home about, but there were plays where, he stepped up, looking at this receiver, looking at that receiver. Let me toss it down to Juju. That's what I feel like you need. Like nobody would be asking him, Jerry, to come in and just rock the foundation of the wide receiver room. He would be like that third receiver. Like this is Shaheed's and Olave's team when it comes to the pass catch. So my question is like, what are you asking him to do? Like if you're looking at him from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster, like you're looking at him from that particular standpoint, then yeah. But if you're asking him to be a number 3 receiver, like I would trust Juju more than Cedric Wilson. I like Cedric Wilson. I think that there's something there, but I would trust Juju over Juju over Cedric Wilson. Who that, TJ? Do you like or do not like the idea of us maybe signing Justin Simmons? Would it be a good signing to better our defense, or you think it's a waste of a signing? Well, look, I said this before. I feel like this guy's a difference maker. I feel like, this is one guy in the secondary that can help you, get the ball back to the offense. I feel like the more chances you get to score, the better. I do feel like this guy is a game changer. And I say this, like, I feel like the Saints would be a division winner with this guy on the squad. Now, with that being said, I feel like they're bigger fish to fry. Like, I feel like you need to be focusing on trying to get this offensive line straight. Like, looking and evaluating that. And if the money that you're trying to put in Justin Simmons' bank account, no disrespect, I feel like you need to be doing that for an offensive lineman that can help you throughout the season. So I wouldn't be mad at it, and I understand that, DA is a defensive-minded guy. But I feel like at this point, based on your needs, Justin Simmons would be a luxury pickup. He would be a luxury pickup. Like, I feel like this offensive line, they need somebody else in there. Like, unless there's something going on that we don't know about. Let's see. Rattler can possibly help fix cap. If young ball, he will demand big market and payday. We lucky other teams ain't want to take risks even with him in prime. Our cap reason why we couldn't resign T-Rex, etc. Well, I don't know, man. I think the New Orleans Saints, I think they looked at Trey Hendrickson. I think they looked at him and they looked at his injury history, like him getting hurt and being out, and they were like, man, I don't know about that. Because if you look at it, man, I mean, they hurry up and sign Carl Granderson. They hurry up and signed him. Like, they were like, man, let's go ahead and get it, because they didn't want to make that same mistake again. Look, we learned, no cap. We learned that if the Saints want to keep somebody, they're going to keep them. If they want to pay somebody, they're going to pay him. It's just that simple. I don't feel like they really valued Trey Hendrickson the way that he should have been valued. I think they kind of just looked at him like, yeah, he'll give us some production, but, I think they looked at when he got signed by Cincinnati and they looked at the salary that they gave him. They were like, oh, he's good, but not that good. But it turns out he was that damn good. And as far as Rattler, like, this is the reason why you draft like these guys in the late rounds. Like, so if you hit on them, right? Let's just say if Hainer works, Rattler works, right? You got those guys for the next 3 to 4 years, right? And you're able to put a team around them, right? You don't have to worry about exhausting the cap, because who takes up the majority of the cap most of the time? It's the quarterback. So if you have a quarterback playing for pennies, a la Brock Purdy, right? You can build a team around him and you can go for it every single year. I want to say Brock Purdy was making, like, one time in a game, I think he made like $80,000 for playing in a football game as a starting quarterback. Now, I'm pretty sure he gets paid a lot more than that now, because, you got your starting bonuses and stuff like that. But $80,000? Like, bruh, if you got a quarterback out there making that type of chump change, imagine the endless possibilities. That's the reason why you can pay a McCaffrey. That's the reason why you can make a trade for Chase Young. That's the reason why you can keep on bringing all of these other guys in to help your team and beef them up. Like, you can play around, and you have a chance to go out there and get it before you have to pay Brock Purdy, where he's going to demand a certain amount of money. He's going to probably set the market, and then you're going to have to be relying on a draft again in order for you to get where you need to be. So if one of these guys can work out, rather it's Rattler, rather it's Hainer, if these guys can work out, then, man, imagine it helps you get yourself back into the black, and you're able to put other pieces around him and maybe go for it. I mean, so yeah, but that's why you got to hope that one of these guys work out. TJ, who's out there that you're willing to take a fly on? Man, Hunter Renfrow, Juju Smith-Schuster. If we talking offensive linemen, Man, they got a few. Let me make sure of the list because I mean it'll probably change because a lot of teams have been dealing with injuries. So let me see. Let me see if a few of those guys still available. Let's see. NFL free agent offensive lineman. All right. I'm gonna try to see if I can actually. I'm gonna see if I can actually answer your question. Let me pull this up because I know a lot of teams have been dealing with injuries on the offensive line. A lot of teams been dealing with injuries at receiver. So I'm pretty sure this list is going to be a little bit different than some of the names that I done came up with. So let's start with the offensive line right here. All right, so I'll pull it up so you all can see it. Let me pull it up so y'all can see what I'm seeing. All right, so here we go. Sports track there. I apologize for that. Let me stroll. All right, so hope everybody can see that. Hope everybody can see it. All right, so what you have here is, a few guys. You got David Bakhtiari. I mean, he's had injury history, so I mean that's kind of like taking a flyer on a guy like that. DJ Humphries, played some solid ball, man, but hit and miss. Charles Leno, he's up there in age. Corey Linsley, not really a big fan of. I mean, Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith is, I mean, we all know about him, man. He gonna hold you. You know what I'm saying? You gonna get some holding penalties messing around with Donovan Smith. You know what I mean? It's a mixed bag with him. Billy Turner, Trey Turner, like you signed him before, like he was out for the season with a pec injury. So do you want to try to sign him back again? You want to come back and bring back Cameron Tom, like for the guard position? I don't know. Got Ethan Greenwich out there, former New Orleans Saint. Do you want to get him? I mean, there are some guys on this list, but nobody is like gonna set the world on fire. Like nobody is gonna like be like, oh man, our problems are over because we got this guy. So there's a few guys out there, like I said, that could probably do better. I mean, it can't get any worse. Can't get any worse than what you already got. So I say just bring somebody in. I just say bring somebody in, man, but don't be content going into the season. Like your job on the line. They signed him before he had big production. He wasn't in this cap situation. We probably could have kept Williams or Teron. Guy Simmons and Young, big deal if signed and ball. We did target Watson though. Excuse me. The thing about it is, if you sign like that tells you everything you need to know about that no cap. If they can go after Deshaun Watson, you don't think they could go after Trey Hendrickson? Like we all were wondering, where was this money coming from? Right? Like where was the Skrilla coming from? So we like that tells you everything you need to know. If they wanted to pay Trey Hendrickson, they would have paid Trey Hendrickson. My bad, TJ. Gotta go, buddy. Love you, brother. Gotta get up in the morning and catch you tomorrow. I'm about to go ahead and wrap it up too, which leads me to my final thought. Right, my final thought. Let me see what J Live had to say. J Live says, "Love what you do, TJ. Got to get something off my chest. If Jake Haener played with most of the ones, you also must acknowledge Rattler was going against your neighborhood piece." Look, I have no issue with Jake Haener at all. I just feel like Jake Haener is Kelly Rowland, right? Like let's look at this from Destiny Child. He's Kelly Rowland. Like nothing wrong with Kelly Rowland. Matter of fact, a lot of people prefer Kelly Rowland over Beyonce. You know, they love that chocolate sister. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing wrong with her. She can sing, she can dance, she right there lock and step. All the men and independent. She right there with a lock and step, right? She had some hits too. Then can I be your motivation? She done had hits too, right? Nothing wrong with Kelly Rowland. But Beyonce, though, right? I gotta go to that Beyonce concert. I gotta get my silver. I gotta put my platinum on. You know what I'm saying? For the Renaissance concert, right? Beyonce coming to town. Everybody losing their mind. Better not say nothing about me. Better not say nothing about B, right? That's kind of like how this is right now. Like, this is a Kelly Rowland Beyonce thing, right? I mean, nothing wrong with Jake Haener at all. Like, what he's doing right now, like, Saints fans should be excited. Like, you got two quarterbacks right here that could give you something, and their future is promising. But at the same time, everybody looking at Spencer Rattler because they love the arm talent. You know, they love the mystique that came with him. Like, it's just what it is. Like, that's just how it rolls, man. Like, there's nothing wrong at all with Jake Haener. Like, you should be excited that Jake Haener is balling out. Jake Haener played better than all the quarterbacks today at practice. But it's unfortunate because Jake Haener, if Spencer Rattler wasn't on his team right now, the same energy that fans have about Spencer Rattler, they have about Jake Haener right now. Think about this, man. Jake Haener stepped up in the pocket, threw a 58-yard pass down the left sideline of A.T. Perry. Can you imagine if Spencer Rattler wasn't on the team and Jake Haener did this? The Who That Nation will be talking about Haener. They'll be talking about, Mr. Zoolander. That's what they'll be talking about. But his star is being outshined by Spencer Rattler because Spencer Rattler comes in with a name. He comes in with fanfare, and the comparison to Patrick Mahomes is something that New Orleans Saints fans can't shake. It's like I said, nothing wrong with Jake Haener. Jake Haener deserves to be talked about just as much as Spencer Rattler is. But Spencer Rattler is the Buzz Lightyear to Jake Haener's Woody. Both good toys. Both Sir Andy Wright. But hey, Buzz Lightyear is the shiny new toy. So unfortunately, Woody got to go hang out in a toy chest with Bo Peep and Potato Head. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. That's just the way people are looking at it. But there's nothing wrong with Jake Haener. I have nothing but respect for Jake Haener. I feel like Jake Haener definitely played better than Derek Carr, but that's not saying much. And if Jake Haener, let's just say, for example, if Jake Haener became the backup in this situation, I have the confidence that Jake Haener can keep this thing afloat until, they decide what they're going to do with Derek Carr. I feel like he will keep the Saints in the game. I really do. So I just feel like he's just a victim of he's just a victim of this train, that left the station, the Spencer Rattler train. But yeah, I like Jake Haener a lot. It just, like I said, it's Kelly Rowland and Beyonce. But I want to say thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully we won you over. We got 293 people watching this right now. Thank you. Wow. I really do appreciate that. I ask that you hit the like button. All right. Shouts out to everybody that subscribed tonight, everybody that donated tonight. I mean, the State of Saints podcast has really been making traction, and I'm forever indebted to all of the people out there that believed in this podcast, man. I'm looking on social media and we're being recognized as people's go-to podcast. I mean, that means a lot, man. I tell people all the time, I started off in a closet in my apartment, like talking, doing voiceovers because I couldn't afford a webcam. And I go from that to being mentioned in the same conversations as like really good Saints podcasters and reporters like Ross Jackson and Nick Underhill. Man, I'm honored. And I appreciate you all because I know without you, that none of that would have been possible. So thank you for that. And shouts out to all the people that believe in this show, man. But I want to let you all know that you can check out the Gumbo Pod Sports podcast. I should have an episode up tomorrow. Had a lot of things going on this Tuesday. Had to help Paxton out. He's learning how to write, write his ABCs and tracing. Then I had to do the roundtable sports. Thought I would be able to get into Gumbo, but started having too much fun over here. So that episode is going to come out tomorrow. We're going to be talking about some of the injuries to some of these players, man. JJ McCarthy got a serious injury. So is Jahmyr Gibbs. Their status is up in there when it comes to the season and much more, man. So if you're not doing anything, you're into like all sports, make sure you subscribe to the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast, youtube.com, search Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast. You can also follow me on social media. You can follow me on X at TJAYJones8. And you can also follow me on Instagram at TJAYJones_. So I really do appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the support. Make sure that you all stay safe. Have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who that?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.